A pretty common topic when it comes to training or sports performance is, does strength training affect or stunt a younger athlete's growth? In this video, I'm going to not only explain why it doesn't stunt growth, but also why it's really important to have an athlete strength or weight train when they're younger. There's tons of articles and research studies today that heavily weigh and show significant evidence that not only does strength training not affect growth in a negative way, but actually reduces the risk of injuries in not only a general sense, but in relation to damaging a growth plate while playing their sport, thus affecting growth. Because this question or topic is so popular, with a quick Google search or by typing on YouTube, you can find tons of articles, studies, or videos debunking this myth. But I also wanted to make my own video explaining it simply. Let's say there's a 100-pound, 12-year-old athlete, and they jump up into the air and land. When they come down from the jump and landing, they have to not only absorb their body weight, but the force at which gravity is pulling them down, which would be over 100 pounds of force due to gravity and based on the height of the jump. But this type of force absorption or manipulation of energy is greater when an athlete is actually sprinting and has to cut and change direction. Because not only are they having to slow their own body weight at speed when cutting, but they're also having to do it at a precise moment in time. And instead of just using 2 feet like a jump, they're only going to be using 1 to absorb all that energy and force. So they're having to absorb even more force comparative to a jump in one leg and over a shorter period of time. This is why the number one moment in time during sports that most injuries occur is when an athlete is slowing down or absorbing force to change direction. In the gym, a 9 to 13-year-old athlete that is younger isn't going to come close to using 100 plus pounds of weight when weightlifting. Most stick to around 10, 15, 12, upwards to maybe 25 pounds. Strength training for younger athletes isn't going to get near the amount of force seen when doing a cut or a jump. Weightlifting is also much less risky because it's in a controlled setting where there aren't other athletes running around, and you don't have to move in multiple directions for the most part. The risk of damaging a growth plate during play or game is significantly higher than weightlifting, which will in turn stunt your growth when you're younger or as an athlete in general. It's also very important that when it comes to weightlifting for a younger athlete, that technique is put first and respected heavily. Strength/weight training is very much a skill set, just like throwing a baseball, kicking a soccer ball, shooting free throws, whatever skill you can think of. Just like any of those skills, it's important to first work on technique, fine-tune the movement, consistently work on that movement as a skill, and slowly/progressively add weight in over time. For younger athletes, the benefit of learning the movement and doing it well earlier on equates to a better career in not only their sport, but a better relationship to fitness or training for the rest of their lives. Arguably, when starting off at the appropriate age and when they are excited or enjoy weightlifting, the more they can improve as they get older because they have developed the skill set earlier. Weightlifting actually reduces the risk of injuries overall because of an athlete's increased ability to absorb the force of any movement, and they become more resilient to other athletes. The benefits of a youth athlete appropriately strength training greatly outweigh any of the risk. The benefits include and are not just limited to muscular strength, increased bone density, balance, proprioception, lower risk of sports-related injuries, improved self-esteem, and on and on. And all of those are all from more of a health standpoint or a pediatric standpoint. Because an athlete that strength trains appropriately, and again with proper technique when younger, will also be faster, be able to jump higher, stronger, and perform more optimally in relation to if they didn't train, because they're able to apply more force. In conclusion of this topic, weightlifting does not stunt growth. There's no evidence to prove that it does, and this concept has been debunked as a myth. Strength training will not only reduce the risk of an athlete sustaining an injury that might greatly affect their sport career or overall health, but it'll greatly improve their performance of their sport. Myths in the sports performance world or fitness industry can sometimes last longer than the research or information that is out there disproving them. That's where, as a sports performance coach, my job as an educator comes in, for not only athletes, but coaches or parents. That's also why I wanted to talk about another topic at the end of this video as well, to show the significance of having a sports performance coach in your corner. And that topic is the age-old saying that when you're tired or you're breathing heavily, you should put your hands on top of your head versus your knees. In 2019, there was a study done on female college soccer athletes. In that study, they had each athlete do sprints and intervals on a treadmill. While on the treadmill, the researchers were monitoring heart rate, respiration, oxygen levels, and a bunch of other health metrics. Then when they got off the treadmill, each athlete would either put their hands on their heads or their hands on their knees. What they found out at the end of the study is there was significant evidence that the more efficient posture or hand position in order to recover quicker and perform better was by putting your hands on your knees. So essentially, when it comes to training more efficiently, playing harder, or just performing better, it's more optimal to put your hands on your knees to recover faster. the faster you recover from a sprint or movement, the faster you can move and the better you can move. That study almost came out 4 years ago, and the amount of athletes, coaches, and parents that still don't know about it is pretty high. Hands on your knees, not your head. The reason I wanted to add that study at the end of this video is to show there's a bunch of myths, misconceptions, or old school concepts that due to research, the advancements in technology, and a stronger focus on performance have changed or been proven wrong. At the end of the day, as a performance coach and a gym owner, my job is to educate, coach, and influence all those around me to train properly, perform better, understand more about movement, and at the end of the day, enjoy training so you use it for the rest of your lives.